I just got done playing the First Berserker Khazan Demo. The game isn't due to release until March 27th of this year, but the lovely developers at Neopol have released a public demo for us all to dive into and check out the game on all the different platforms. Steam, Xbox, PlayStation, you can go and play it right now. So I wanted to break down my time with the demo, give you some first impressions, and find out if the First Berserker Khazan should be on your radar. So let's jump in. My recap of the 2.5 hours is as follows. Wake up in a cage only to be hit by an avalanche, not fun. Get possessed by a blade demon, kind of fun. Touch a weird sword that totally is not a bonfire, killed my first enemy. Learned about guarding, dodging and their brink variants, and also how to take down an enemy's stamina bar. Then we moved on to using brutal attacks, which are pretty damn awesome. When you break an enemy's stamina shield, you can then use a brutal attack to follow up. Leveled up for the first time, found some weird resource thing that I can use to level up and also see the memories of past dead people. For a pretty chunky mini boss with a large spear, equipped a few pieces of armor, tried to sneak up on a monkey and then fell to my first death of the game. Fought a Yeti and an elite soldier. Progress further, killing a load of enemies and getting to grips with the combat system, going into an area, then figuring out I can actually farm those areas. So I spent a bit of time there, leveling up a little bit. Then ran into my first major boss, an Uber Yeti, and almost killed him on my first try. Shame I didn't do that. Went back to the previous area, farmed some more enemies, went back in and then beat his ass. Met an old lady who helped me get into the next area to tell me there are 3 weapons that I need to get from the mountain in order to rid the demon from my body. So there's our new goal. Equipped some new gear which had some pretty cool gear effects, got access to the skill tree, leveled up a few more times, then fought off some wolves, pigs and monkeys, and also got used to using a javelin using spirit. Found a huge knife and then put it to good use the same way that we do in all of these games, heavy and destructive. Then we fought a huge bear and learned about counter-attacking and perfect counter-attacking, which is key, especially if you want to do a whole bunch more damage in this game. Progressed some more and then found ourselves our second weapon being the spear. Killed a bunch more enemies in the mountain pass, found some more, and hey look, a mini boss as a regular enemy that we just fought with the same large spear. Eventually, I found myself the 3rd set of weapons that I needed, a rare set of dual-wielded weapons, for a ghost version of myself or someone else in this case. Leveled up some more, made it to the top of the mountain to fight my inner demon. He kicked my ass not once, but a few times. I finally put it all together after a couple of times fighting him, and then absolutely kicked his ass in the most anime-style cutscene. Then struck a deal with the demon, and now we're going to tear shit up for the rest of the game, working together. The demo ends with a montage of the main game, getting me fully hyped for the full release on March 27th. Damn, for an action-packed demo for 2.5 hours, we did a lot, and I certainly did not want to stop playing. The question is the First Berserker Khazan any good? If I had to base my opinion of the game for the first 2 hours or so that I've played, the First Berserker leaves a pretty damn good first impression. It gives you just enough of a taste to understand what the game is going to do and be as we progress through the game. It gives you grips with a couple of the different systems in the game as well, and I think it's a really good thing to check out if you're apprehensive about the game. I didn't want the demo to end, and I felt disappointed when it did. And I think it's a good barometer to show you how invested and how interested I am in the full release of the game. But I think there's a lot more here to talk about than just a recap. The first 20 minutes alone is a little bit of a shaky one because at the start you're thinking, okay, is this just another Souls-like or light type of game? The combat is quite slow in the beginning, but it quickly introduces you to new mechanics, it gives you new weapons, and gets you going much quicker and focuses on the action and the fast-paced combat. Even though you can have a different type of playstyle, which I'll talk about in just a moment, it's very upbeat and not as deliberate, I would say, as some of the other Souls games that I've played. If you've followed me on this channel for a while, you'll know that gameplay is key for me, and I love games that really nail some things down and get you into the gameplay loop. So you'll be guarding or blocking in this instance, you'll be dodging and also managing your stamina. Brink guarding and also brink dodging will have multiple benefits Obviously, not being able to be hit is nice in these types of games, but you won't drain stamina if you like perfectly time a guard, or a brink guard in this case, and you'll deal stamina damage to enemies, and then you can follow up when you break their stamina to then do a brutal attack, and then that does a whole host of damage to them. Bearing in mind, this is just the early portion of the game. It gets really cool later on when you get access to a skill that damages an enemy when you perfectly guard them. Like, doing it multiple times against certain enemies in a row makes you feel so damn cool, and the sound effect that you get as well is also awesome. You just feel like a badass, and I think that's what they're going for, and it feels very aggressive. It feels more like you're on the offensive when you're being defensive, if that makes sense. You may be thinking though, I suck at timing and blocking and dodging in these types of games. How is this going to be any different? To be honest, the other great thing about it is that you will be playing the game on like normal or easy. There's probably going to be a harder version, most likely in the full release, but I like that because it means that if people want to go through the game, they want to be on super easy mode and just have a great time doing some really cool flashy action moves. I haven't checked myself, but I can guarantee that the window and the predictability of certain enemies on lower difficulties will be a lot better, and you'll obviously get more rewarded being on those lower difficulties as well. So we've got the basics of combat, we've got the difficulty and the timing and the parrying and all that type of stuff, but there's also a full suite of abilities and different weapons that you can go into that are awesome. You get skill points in the game from becoming proficient with weapons, but you can unlearn all the skills on one weapon and swap it to another weapon depending on if it's an upgrade, if it does more damage and stuff. The only downside is that you will have to pay attention to the stats of a specific weapon that scale. They'll scale with strength and willpower rather than willpower and proficiency, that type of thing. So if there's a reset there in the game that you can do eventually at like a hub world or something for a cost, then that's going to be helpful, especially if you have a weapon that you particularly like. Felt like it was a really nice thing to commit to using one weapon and going, okay, I'm going to go and use this weapon now, and I'm just going to unlearn everything and then go into another playstyle. I did that with the dual wield, swapped over to the big great sword, and then I swapped over to the spear, and then swapped back around again, and I just had a lot of fun experimenting, and I like that aspect of the game. I do have some thoughts that are pretty surface level in terms of more constructive thoughts about the game, not necessarily negative. Number one will be most likely the art style. There's a cel-shaded look to the character. The animations in boss fights, and they're really epic and fun, but like the in-between moments aren't anything to write home about. The areas are kind of a little bit drab, and maybe they'll open up a little bit later on, because it was obviously the first couple of areas of the game. Although it does look flashy and colorful in places, I do think this is going to be something that people aren't going to be as invested in. The areas between boss fights as well are quite formulaic. We've seen them before in other Souls-like games, or games in this manner, where it's more like a small contained mission with not too many branching paths that you can kind of go and explore. It'll be okay, but I think it will wane on people if it's not really expanded out. I'm hoping that this changes up as we get into the other areas of the game, and maybe it opens up a little bit more. It would be nice to see. By all means though, the game isn't brutal or punishing. Once you've leveled up a little bit more and you kind of understand the systems, it's really nice to get into a flow. I also like the fact that the resource that you get for leveling up, you just have to run over it. You don't have to press any other buttons. And also, if you die in a boss fight, you will also gain back your things as soon as you like respawn. You can just run over them, and instead of going into the boss area, and also gain some as well. So if you're struggling, there's like a small little bump that you can get, and maybe you'll get a level up or a skill point that you can use in going into the fight or during the fights. Then if you die, you get that little bit of progression. As for now though, I am sold on the gameplay. I'm sold on the idea of the game's like overall look and aesthetic, and I think it's going to be worth picking up, if not on the day one or when it goes on sale, like later on in the year and stuff. I think this is going to be one that you want to put on your radar. And once again, like Stellar Blade did last year, a game demo can go a long way to selling people on the game, and I think this certainly has, and I implore everybody to go and play this now. I can't wait for the first Berserker Khazan to come out on March 27th, which isn't that far away. Are you going to be checking it out? Let me know down in the comments section. Have you played the demo already and you're just watching this video to see other people's thoughts? Leave a comment down in the comment section. And as always, subscribe to the channel. And this has been It's Jimbo, and I'll see you guys next time.